everyone. Should we try that again? Good morning, everyone. Fantastic. Thank you so much for reading for us, Danette and Bright. My name's Sarah, if we've not met before. And in our all-age worship services, which we do on the first Sunday of every month, just so you know, where we have all our kids and our young people stay in the service all together. And we've been looking at, this academic year, some heroes of the Old Testament. So back in September, Doreen talked to us about David and his battle with Goliath and then how he went on to become king. Last month, Graham spoke to us about Bezalel and the creativity that God had given him. And now today, we are going to be thinking about Elijah, as we've just heard in the Bible. Now, to help us really understand what was happening here, we're going to watch a short animated video just to help us visualize the story.
Following God's command, brave Elijah climbed to the peak of Mount Carmel and waited. King Ahab of Israel was on his way and he was furious. 3 years ago, Elijah stood in King Ahab's palace, declaring God's anger at the people's broken promises. Back then, Ahab didn't really care. He and his people had turned away from God to worship a false god named Baal. He was believed to control the rain. God had instructed Elijah to announce a drought until further notice. At the time, the people laughed, but there was no laughter now. The land was parched, devoid of water. Not even a hint of rain or morning dew had touched the earth since Elijah's words in the palace. Crops wilted, animals suffered, and Baal's prophets failed to summon any rain. So, when King Ahab learned where Elijah was, he marched his soldiers across the barren land to confront Elijah and his God. As Ahab arrived, Elijah found himself surrounded by over 400 of Baal's prophets and priests. Outnumbered and encircled, Elijah challenged them. "Let's settle whose God is real. Build an altar, place your offering, and call on Baal to send the fire. I'll do the same for my God. Whoever's altar alights first is the one true God." The surrounding priests agreed. In an instant, the prophets cried out to Baal, pleading for fire. They danced and howled and even hurt themselves to get Baal's attention. Elijah just watched, mocked their efforts as they wailed throughout the night to no avail. Elijah trusted in God's power. He dug a trench around his altar, and then he turned to some onlookers and asked them to pour jug after jug of water on the altar until the whole thing was sodden and the trench was overflowing. Elijah then called out to God, "Answer me, O God, so that these people may know you." Suddenly, a fire raged down from the sky and ignited the waterlogged altar. It was a miracle. The people fell on their faces and praised God, and shortly after, rain clouds were spotted in the distance. The drought would soon be over.
All right. I wonder if there are any children here and they might like to come down and sit on the rug at the front and join me. I'm going to need a few helpers in due course. I know there's not very many children, but if you are a child or consider yourself to be a child, maybe you might like to come down. Jonathan, amazing. Nikhil and Anya, Otis, maybe. Anyone else? Got a few more? Come on. All right. Fantastic. So, I wonder if the people in the hall at the back might like to come in, or maybe we could close the doors to keep some of the noise out. Amazing. All right. We're going to be thinking about Elijah's journey of faith in God and how he had unwavering faithfulness and trust in God despite all the challenges that life threw at him. He never stopped believing and trusting in God. He kept listening for God's voice, speaking to him, and he kept following God's instructions as best he could, even when it felt like everyone was against him. Okay, so to help us think about this and to illustrate this, I'm going to need a couple of volunteers. Now, first of all, I'm going to need a child volunteer. Now, before you put your hand up, this person has to be someone who is really trustworthy. really trustworthy, and maybe good at giving instructions, all right? Does any of the children here think that they're trustworthy and good at giving instructions? No? Nobody? I'm sure somebody must. Do you want to? Come on then, Nikhil. All right, you're trustworthy, are you? Fantastic, come and join me. All right, it's a very important job you're going to have to do in a minute, all right? Stay there. Now, I'm going to also need an adult volunteer, okay? Now, before you all rush to volunteer, this person is going to have to put their unwavering trust in Nikhil, okay? If you think you could do that, then you could volunteer, okay? Now, a little bit of a trigger warning is that you may also have to wear a blindfold. So if that's not something you feel comfortable doing, then please don't volunteer. Come on, adults. I know there's going to be some of you out there who would love to. Dun, dun, dun. Otherwise, I'll pick on someone. Oh, Basede's volunteering. Fantastic. All right. Don't worry, you don't need to come up. All right. So, Basede, are you ready to put your trust in Nikhil? Yeah. You are? Okay. Can I ask you to go to the back of the church, please, and wait at the back of the aisle? Okay, we are going to imagine, ladies and gentlemen, that this aisle is Elijah's journey of faith. Okay? And now we know in our journey of faith, and in Elijah's, as we saw from the video and the Bible reading, that there were some obstacles. There were some ups and downs on this journey. So I wonder if my youth volunteers could come and bring in the obstacles. Bring in the ups and downs of life on this journey of faith. So perhaps you guys might like to come forward a bit and you can turn around and have a look, yeah? At what's going to happen. Okay, so as you can see, there's a few obstacles in our imaginary journey of faith. Now, there's also, what your job is, okay, yeah, you have to guide Basede to get from the back of the church to the front of the church. Okay, I'll tell you in a minute what those are for, okay, but stay here. You are only allowed to use your voice, okay? That is all you're allowed to use. You're not allowed to touch her. You're not allowed to lead her. You can only use your voice and give her instructions, okay? I'm even going to give you a microphone just to make sure that she can hear you, okay? Not yet. Now, unfortunately, Basede won't be able to see where she's going. So, I wonder if what young people could come and pop a little, in your own time, pop a little blindfold on her, okay? Now, we know that in our journey of faith, sometimes there's distractions. Sometimes we hear voices that are not God's. Sometimes, there's challenges that we face in life. And so I've got a few challenges, and when we get to those parts, I'll let you know what you've got to do, okay? All right, are you ready? Okay? It's on, testing, 1, 2. Okay, so you're going to use just your voice to tell Basede. You can say, take 3 steps forward or take a step to the left or step to the right.
Can I get a better view?
Yeah, you can, but you're not allowed to touch her. He needs a better view. Okay. All right. Are you ready?
Yes.
3, 2, 1, go.
Forward. A bit more to the left. Yeah, good. Forward. Stop. No, forward a bit more. Right. Side step. Yeah. No, stop. Turn a bit more left. Forward. Yeah, keep going
Okay,
straight.
it's getting really windy. Everyone blow.
Oh, great. Okay, just stop.
It's getting really windy.
Get out there. Okay, move a bit more left. Side step to the left. Stop. Go a bit backwards. Side step. Oh no, how am I going to do this? A bit more
She,
forward.
if she doesn't want to go under it, she could go around it.
You know, just crawl, just crawl.
Just crawl.
Okay, so go down, sit, and then just crawl under.
Are you okay with that, Basede?
Yeah. This is cool.
She's going down.
Okay, come. Red. Yeah, good.
Okay, guys, there's some hailstones. There's some hailstones coming.
No.
Gently. Gently,
Yeah,
okay?
you're almost
There's
out.
some hailstones.
Okay, move. Okay, move.
Go on.
Yeah. Just a tiny bit more. Okay, now. Stop.
Go.
Stand up.
Yeah, the hailstones are coming.
Stand up.
Oh no!
Oh,
no!
great.
Life is throwing all sorts of things at her.
Move a bit there. Move a bit to the right.
Is she gonna make it?
Move to the right. Move to the. Oh my God. No, your other right. Oh, the left.
Other right.
The left. Move to the left.
Okay, stop.
A bit more.
Nikhil, keep giving her
Move to
instructions.
the left. Okay, forward. No. Yeah. Keep moving. Keep moving to the left.
Okay.
Move to the left.
Okay.
Keep sidestep. Keep
She's
sidestep.
on the rock. She's there. One more step. Yay!
Oh my God.
It's okay. Okay, Basede, how did that feel for you?
That was challenging.
It was challenging. Was it easy to hear the instructions and follow them?
It wasn't easy, but I just put my trust in him that he will guide me through.
Okay, and how did it feel for you, Nikhil, to be in charge? Was it easy?
No.
No, it was quite tricky, wasn't it? Okay, well done. Let's everyone give them a round of applause. And I wonder whether a sensible person could get my hailstones back for me, please. All of them. Thank you. Pass that back. Thank you very much. All right. Wow. So, like I said, this obstacle course is a little bit like Elijah's life. And it might sometimes feel a little bit like your life too. I know that my life sometimes feels like it's full of obstacles and full of challenges that make life more difficult. And there are some lessons that I think we can learn from Elijah's journey of faith that will help us with our journey of faith. Okay, so now a little bit about Elijah. Elijah lived in a time when the people all around him did not follow God. Okay, they actually worshipped a false god called Baal. Okay, and that would have been quite challenging for Elijah to stay faithful to God. And as if that wasn't hard enough, I'll just pop these out the way of temptation. As if that wasn't hard enough, in the previous chapter, then we heard, God told Elijah that he had a job to do. God told him that he had to go and tell the king, who was a nasty piece of work, that he had to stop worshipping Baal and to worship God instead. And if they didn't, then God would send a famine and a drought on the whole country. Can you imagine God giving you a job like that to do? Must have been really scary for Elijah to go and confront the king. But in the Bible, throughout this whole story, we see some things written in the Bible that give us a little bit of a clue as to Elijah. Okay, so it says things like, then the Lord spoke his word to Elijah, and then a little bit later it says, so Elijah did what the Lord told him to do. And then it says it again, then the Lord spoke to Elijah. And then a little bit later, and then Elijah did what God told him to do. And then at the start of the chapter we read today, it says, the Lord said to Elijah to go and confront the king. And then what did Elijah do? Elijah went, and he did what God had asked him to do. And so time and time again, we see Elijah. First of all, he listens. Everyone say, listen. So he listens for God's voice. Yeah, and he hears God's voice, and then he obeys. Everyone say, obey. Obey. Then he obeys the instructions that God has given him. Why? Because he has trust. Everyone say, trust. So he trusts in God. So he listens, he obeys, and he trusts. Elijah trusted God so much so that no matter what, he would do what God asked him to do. So when God told him to go to a certain place because there would be someone who would give him food and look after him, that's what he did. He followed God's instructions. When he had this whole idea about the altars and the fire, he did what God said. And God did miracles, didn't he, to prove who he was and to keep Elijah safe. So we've got to this part that we heard in the story, in the Bible reading. So Elijah does what God says, and he goes to confront King Ahab. And what does King Ahab call him? Does anyone remember? He says, "You troublemaker." Calls him a troublemaker. But then Elijah, so brave, stands up to the king and says, "No, it's not me that's the troublemaker, it's you. Because this famine and this drought is all your fault. Because God told you that if you didn't worship him and you chose to worship Baal, that there would be a drought, and it happened. So actually, it's your fault." Imagine saying that to the king. So then Elijah sets this challenge, okay, for the king and for all the people of Israel who worship Baal. It's basically kind of like, challenging the prophets of Baal to a duel, like the battle of the gods at Mount Carmel. Okay, so on one side, we've got 450 prophets of Baal. That's a lot of people. That's more than double the size of the amount of people here today. So 450, imagine 450 prophets of Baal on one side, and then on the other side, we've got Elijah, all by himself, all on his own. And both of them have got to make an altar made from wood and stones. They've got to prepare a bull to be sacrificed, and then they've to pray. They have to pray to their God, so they're going to pray to Baal. Elijah's going to pray to God and ask them to set the altar on fire. So you've got these 450 prophets of Baal, and they're dancing around the altar, and they're shouting, and they're praying for hours and hours and hours on end, and nothing's happening. And as the time goes by, they start going a little bit crazy and desperate. And they even start hurting themselves and drawing their own blood to offer to the god Baal to try and get him to answer their prayers. But nothing happened. Absolutely nothing at all. There was no fire. Baal did not answer their prayers. And then it was Elijah's turn. So he built his altar and he laid the bull in it. And then he did something so crazy. Can anyone remember from the video what Elijah did? Yeah, Otis. He filled it with water. He got the people and he said, "Oh, pour some jugs of water all over my altar." And then he said, "Do it again." And then do it again. So 3 times they drenched the altar with water. Because I wonder why he did that. He's like, this is crazy. How is God going to set fire to this now? But Elijah was so confident. He had so much faith in God. And he wanted to show the people who were gathered there that God can make the impossible possible. And so he started to pray and ask God to prove that he is the God of Israel and that Elijah is his servant. And he said, "Lord, answer my prayer. Show these people that you, Lord, are God." And then, of course, we know what happens next, don't we? The Lord sent fire and burned up the altar. And then all the people immediately bowed down and said, "The Lord is God." Now, Elijah, we're thinking about Elijah. He's one of the heroes of the Old Testament. But actually, he was just an ordinary person, just like you and me. But his unwavering faith in God made him extraordinary. Elijah bravely stood up for what he believed in when everyone else had turned away. And he confronted the wicked king just as God had asked him to. And even when there was 450 to 1 in a challenge, he remained unshaken. Even though common sense might say, "Oh, you might be a bit outnumbered, maybe you should just leave it or walk away." Elijah knew that God would win and that God would send down the fire when he asked him to. So Elijah was so full of unwavering faith. And it's so impressive that I think it's maybe even a little bit intimidating. I don't know about you, but I think, I don't know if my faith is quite that strong. I don't know if I was in a similar situation, whether my faith would be strong enough. But here's the thing. Here's the thing that I think it's important for us to remember, is that it wasn't Elijah who did the miracle. It wasn't Elijah who made the impossible happen. It was God. Yeah, Elijah was simply listening, obeying, and trusting in God. He was being a faithful servant. And I think that's something that we can all do, right? So Elijah's obedience and his acts of faith, they really please God. And so we know that when we face challenges and when we face obstacles in our lives, we can remember to be like Elijah. So first we have to listen. We have to listen for God's voice. And that might be for us today, that might be reading the Bible. God might speak to us in the Bible, or maybe through a talk like this, maybe through a Christian friend, or maybe you might even hear God's voice. You never know. So we have to listen. And then like Elijah, we need to obey. Yeah, so we need to obey God's instructions. So we might see things written in the Bible and we think, oh, that's what I have to do. We have to continue to serve God and do his will, even when it feels hard. Because like Elijah, we need to trust. We need to trust in God and put our faith in him because we know that God loves us and that God has a plan for each of our lives. So then, as we listen, as we obey, and as we trust, we can live our lives to please God. And you never know, God might use you somehow to reveal himself to the world. And maybe he even might throw in a miracle or two. So I hope that Elijah's journey of faith has encouraged you in your journey of faith to listen, to obey, and to trust. Amen.